It's a very long and difficult process, and it's probably going to continue, but there was a big chunk that was very, very frustrating. I was feeling so down about it.
You were trying to get your kid into school, and
I wasn't getting answers from them. Like, we went on the interview and not hear back from them. And I called a bunch of times. It was weeks and weeks after the interview. They're like, we're going to get back to you. It was just weird, and it felt yucky, and why did you want my kid, or whatever it was. And, or tell me at least how to move forward.
So you're feeling all frustrated why nobody wants to take my kid.
And I don't understand what to do with all these emotions, and I could try. It's going on for weeks, months. So then it happened. We're at like the final stage of it, and they weren't coming back. And I sat down in my room, and I was like, this is so silly. Like, this is an opportunity right now for me to feel that connection with Hashem. I don't have to do this alone. Let me bring Hashem right down with me. Hashem created my child this way. Obviously, he also created the what to do to make it better as well. So why not be worried? And here's a chance to just really feel Hashem with me. And they called me back.
Wow.
Like that day, they called me back, and I was like, when I answered the phone, I was laughing. I was like, that's it. Hashem was like, just take a minute. I'm right here.
So what do you think happened over this? So you suddenly have this.
I think it took weeks and weeks of coming here and hearing the message and being able to, like I hear it, I take it in, and then just apply it. Do it.
It's almost like an AA meeting. Let go, let God.
But I think the chachma is to be happy, even if the school don't call you back.
That's what I
And say, Hashem, I know it's from you. I'm a child. We're your children. Thank you. Lead us the right way. It's okay.
Exactly.
You're lucky that you got a prize and they called you.
Even if they would have called,
Right.
I came to that place.
Beautiful.
So Moni, your story reminds me of the Kotzker Rebbe, Rebbe Nachman Mikotsk, right? Famous Kotzker Rebbe. So he once comes into the Beis Medrash where all his Hasidim are, and the Kotzker Rebbe looks at the Hasidim, and had these powerful lines that he would say, and you had to understand what he was talking about. So he comes in and he says, you guys need to start writing the Megillah. It was a few days before Purim. So you got to start. When are you going to start? Ven heit menon schreiben the Megillah. When are you going to start writing the Megillah? So they're looking around like, I'm not a sofer. And I don't know what you want us to write a Megillah. Like, what should we be doing? Writing the Megillah. So they were debating between them what it means. Finally, they sent their representative, which was his son, Reb Davidel. They sent him in to find out from his father, what did he mean? And they got the answer. He says, the Megillah is a story of hashgacha pratis, of divine providence happening in the lives of a bunch of people in Shushan, and the rest of the world for that matter, in a very distinct period in time, right? The story of Purim is the one Megillah that remains forever. Why does Purim remain forever? Because miracles only happen at particular distinct periods in history, right? When the miracles happen, when there's Kriyas Yamsuf and Yeshua was Shemesh Begiven Doim, he stops the sun, and all these incredible miracles, and Chizkiyahu with Yeshayahu, where the sun goes back 10 degrees, right? Those are like crazy, insane miracles. The rest of history is just regular stuff. Yeah, that regular stuff is absolute miracles. But sometimes you tell the story of, of course, Hashem was revealed and his and everything. But he says, when are you guys going to start writing your own Megillah? When are you going to start realizing that your life, yes, the one that you're leading right this minute and what's going on now, that is the Megillah. And what you're doing is you're having this opportunity to find Hashem is not, his name's not mentioned. He looks like he's hidden. But he's right there. He's absolutely and utterly right there in your life. And it's just a matter of being able to look for him and to find him. Amshin Rabbi added to that one. He says that we say, Chayav Adam likrot Megillah balayla velishnota bayom. You got to read the Megillah by night and then again to read it by day. He's like, what's the idea of repeating the same exact thing again? You read it by night, and then you come in the morning and you read the Megillah, the exact same thing again. Like I heard the story last night. You ever come to Megillah the next day and you're like, okay, I got this. I got the message last night. Like, what's the, I heard the whole story. I know exactly what's going to happen. Like, okay, got it. He says, no. The Megillah is not a story time. When you hear the Megillah, what you're doing is experiencing. It's living. It's about you being able to find Hashem in a hidden story. There's two types of stories that are told. One is when you're in the middle of the night. Night is my kid wasn't accepted into school and I'm stuck and I'm lost and I don't know what to do. And you got to read the Megillah and you got to realize that you're going to give it over to Hashem. And Hashem, when you, like you said, when you're sitting over there, okay, Hashem, I got it. You're running it. I got it. I'm bringing you. I'm feeling you. Yes. Great. Then they call up and the miracle happens and accepted. You're like, wow. You know what happens sometimes then?
You forget to say that's also miracle.
Then you're right. So you're like, okay, so now I'm good.
Yeah.
Now it's all good. He's already accepted.
It's the one that says I'll give whatever to charity or whatever when I get a parking. And
Right.
then like, oh no, never mind.
Right. That's the point. You got to read the same exact story of the Megillah. Every year we read it again because it's not about something that happened way back when. It's about something that's happening now. And it's about us being able to feel the Megillah, right? To be able to feel the Megillah by night and by day. So when you actually listen to the Megillah, what you want to do is effectively learn the story, understand the story, and be able to experience it in your life. And so what I want to continue to today is to learn about Purim and the Megillah story so that we can understand the characters and who's who and what's what and be able to relate it. That's not just a story of something that happened once. The Baal Shem Tov would say, if you read the Megillah retroactively, meaning in the wrong order, you read the second chapter before the first, you're not Yotza. Too bad, if you come late to the Megillah and you're like, oh my gosh, I missed the first 3 psukim. Like you could actually catch it up, but if you read it, but if you didn't, at the end of the Megillah, you listen to the whole thing and you come back and you say, I just missed the first 3 psukim. Guess what? You got to hear it again from the beginning because you can't hear it in the wrong order. So Baal Shem Tov would say what that means on a deeper level is if you ever read the Megillah as if it's something that happened once, in Mafreya, in the wrong order. The order is it's happening. The order is present tense. If you read the Megillah as if it's something that happened once upon a time, you did not fulfill your obligation. That's the point. So we began the conversation last week, and I want to continue that conversation about who the villain of the Megillah is. And this villain is Haman HaGogi, is an Amaleki. And it's important for us to understand and appreciate who this Amalek is in a deeper sense, because that's the general zoom out picture of who this fellow is who's coming here to destroy us, right? Who exactly is Amalek and what does he seek to do to us? So Amalek, the introduction to Amalek, and this is, we always read this on Purim itself, we read about the parasha of Amalek. And then the Shabbos before, we have Shabbos Zechor. We remember what Amalek did to us. The trouble is that we don't have a clue who Amalek is. So whilst you might want to say that I'm going to have to remember what Amalek did, but, of course, we like to think that certain people, we know who they're Amalek. It certainly looks like it. Like when you look at the Germans and some people today, and it looks like, hey, there's the Amalekis. But if any German or Iranian or Palestinian or whatever wants to come convert, are you allowed to accept them?
Yeah.
Yep. Accept them 100%. Right? Why? Because we don't actually know who's Amalek. So though it's clear that some people are pretty much Amalek, nonetheless, when it comes to the actual destruction of Amalek, there's no such thing of a destruction of Amalek. Because if you knew that someone was actually an Amalekite, it would be forbidden to kill that person, or to accept that person as a convert. You'd have to kill that person.
There's never any good amongst the whole nation of evil.
Amalek?
Yeah.
The Torah says that's one nation, man, woman, children, everybody gets killed. Don't mess with that. Somebody should have killed that Yimach Shemoy when he was a little baby, and that would have been a horrific act that would have saved the world. So, but nowadays, what does destroying Amalek mean to us in our lives? So the destruction of Amalek is actually a whole different story. What does it mean to destroy Amalek? It's something that happens inside of us. Because for some odd reason, the Torah has this out that you gotta destroy Amalek. Like, you need to destroy Amalek. By the way, women don't have an obligation to go out to war. I mean, Amalek is a different kind of war, but still, like, where's the war? The war against Amalek is not, nowadays, not against the human being called Amalek, but rather Amalek, which exists and inhabits and resides inside of us.
Doubt.
Amalek is doubt, yes, but
Jealousy.
jealousy is Amalek. There's 7 negative midas, which are the 7 nations of Canaan, and you'd be conquered, right? So there's all different kinds of midas, and anger and jealousy, and all that fits into different families of them. And then there's Amalek, which is Reishis Goyim Amalek, which is the source and core of everything. And that's what it means when we daven today and we want to conquer the land of the 7 nations. It's about experiencing a deeper relationship with Hashem ourselves. But let's first take a look at who Amalek is and when he attacks. So Amalek attacked us, baderech b'tzeischem mimitzrayim. We were on the way out of Mitzrayim. The Jews were in Egypt, and then they escaped Egypt. And as they get out of Egypt, so now suddenly Amalek attacks. So who is that Amalek, and who is the Egypt? What is Mitzrayim inside of us? So there's a pasuk in Shir Hashirim which says, Libavtini achoti kala. Libavtini be'achat me'inayich. The word Libavtini, Shir Hashirim is all a love story. The word Libavtini, very, very powerful. Libavtini means not you love me. It's like, I guess, maybe like you are my heart. Right? Like you have my heart. It's a very intense, poetic form of love, but you feel it sometimes. You have to become like, I think, like, I remember when I was a little kid, but I suddenly found that I was a father, and I still felt like a little kid, but a kid with a kid. And then they were doing some kind of procedure on this little baby, and she was like 3 months old, and I'm holding this baby, and they're doing some kind of anesthetic. So as I'm holding her, and she's crying from this, and you realize suddenly, like, suddenly the little kid changes. Like, you grow up very quickly, and when you feel that kid and you're holding her, it's like, that's Libavtini. Like, you don't, I don't just love you, like you're kind of like, you've got my heart, you're holding it. But actually, Libavtini is much more, we're going to take it to a much more literal sense. Not you love me, but rather you have my heart. And what Hashem is telling us over here is essentially what a Jew truly is. And what I want to lay down for you over here is the psychology of how the Baal HaTanya views you. And it's pretty important to understand it because, there's many different models of psychology, but it's really critical to understand how this human being works, and like, what is a human being, what makes you you, and how you operate. Because when you appreciate and understand how you operate, then you're able to activate the machine correctly. So this machine, called a human being with all the human elements of him, Hashem says, what you are is my heart. Now, first, in the cosmic sense, what does that mean? So the heart is the center of the body. What happens is everything moves through the heart. Go to your doctor, and they'll say it's critical that your heart race and move, and you got to, protect your heart. Very important. So the heart receives the blood and transforms it and circulates blood throughout the body. What Hashem says is, you are my heart. You, the Jewish people, Libavtini, you are my heart. What does that mean? That the world functions, and sometimes it's difficult to discern who's running the world. And we all know that who runs the world? The Jews, right? The Jews control the whole world. That's what they say. But guess what? Hashem says, secret. It's true.
Really?
So what does that mean around the world? It means, the other day I heard for the first time, and I, had this resolution that I made a while back already, best resolution ever, and that was to stop watching the news and listening to anything. So I don't know what's happening. I don't know who is who and nothing. It's amazing. And what's most amazing is that everything I need to know, I know. Because I'm on WhatsApp, and whatever I need to know, I know. So the other day, I discovered, and it was just an interesting way to discover, that there's this big world war looming on the world right now, and it's coming from Russia, Ukraine. How did I find out about it? Because I got some friends who are shluchim, rabbis in Ukraine, and they were talking about how, that they're still staying and they're not scared and whatever, and all that kind of stuff they're talking about. So I'm like, why are you scared? What's the reason to be scared? And then I discovered that there's this war going on. It was interesting. It was just interesting to me because to discover where do you find it from. And it almost sounds like ludicrous nowadays. What? You didn't know that there's like this whole war going on? And then I'm thinking to myself, no, I didn't know. And why do I need to know what some Michigan out there is doing? Does he know what I'm doing? Like, why do I have to find out and follow him? Maybe he should follow me. But he doesn't think it's important to follow me. So only I need to follow him. Why? Because what happens is we're trained. It's almost like a ludicrous question. He's not going to follow you. You're just a little, Lone Ranger. What's he? He's like this powerful person. So Hashem says, it's got the real news is the other way around. The real news is that when you listen to the news, what you're getting is a power that's, oh my gosh, this world's so powerful and something's going on out there and that's controlling the world. We once discussed King Chizkiyahu, who was surrounded by 185,000 soldiers of Sancheriv, who had just decimated the 10 tribes of Israel. So it wasn't like he didn't have a track record, and he's around Yerushalayim. And his general, Rav Shakeh, turns to Chizkiyahu and he says, if you give me 2,000 horsemen that you show me you have, I will provide you 2,000 horses I know you don't have. And Chizkiyahu had nothing. He had no 2,000 horsemen. He's surrounded by 185,000 soldiers. He looks around and he's like, this is very scary. And I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm lost. I have nothing. There's nothing I can do. I'm in a little walled city of Yerushalayim. This guy is just surrounding me and he has all the power in the world. And I don't have any power whatsoever. So if I can do something, I'm going to do it. If there's nothing I can do, you know what my decision to do is? Nothing. So Chizkiyahu says exactly what the Gemara says, Ani yashen al mitati. I'm going to sleep. Not because I'm depressed. I'm going to sleep. It means I'm going to rely on Hashem. You know how difficult it is to go to sleep? When you've got problems. Imagine you've got 100,000 soldiers surrounding you. Yeah. I want to see you go to sleep. Sure, I'm asleep. Like you can't sleep. Absolute bitachon. So there's a line I saw by Sicha, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, where he writes about it. He says, you're looking at the news and you don't understand. You're not reading it correctly because you're reading the news as if the news is the one in control. What you don't realize is that you're in control. And what you, as a little Jew, want to do is say, Ani yashen al mitati. I'm going to sleep. And I'm going to have absolute bitachon. And bitachon works the most when you don't have it. Because then you have to go, I'm going to sleep. I'm going to force myself to just absolute trust in Hashem, total bitachon. Nothing is going to shake me. That's very, very hard. So when you do that, never think that you need to know what's happening in the news in order to be able to control it. People are like, you're going to bury your head in the sand? And then, you know what they did in the 1930s? They buried their head in the sand. I'm like, no, I'm going to listen to the news and be scared and petrified. And that's going to help me. Like, wrong solution. It's just not the same situation. But what I want to do is strengthen my bitachon. When I can do something, do it. When I can't, if I'm in a position that I am, so instead of allowing the news to control me, I'm going to control the news. And he says, if a Jew decides to be absolutely trusting in Hashem and in a total situation of feeling God's presence, then what you'll see is that the news will flip from them to you. And yes, world events will change because of one little you who has the power to control the entire world. And when you believe that and you start realizing that, that's when it's activated. Because what it's waiting for is for you to trust in Hashem that that is true. So that's part one. That's the cosmic Libertini Achoisikala. But if we go to a more psychological level, so Libertini applies in the microcosm, within the ranks of each and every Jew. And here's the psychology of how he builds it. Every Jew, psychologically, is built, I guess, like circular layers. There's a core, and then there's a circle around it, and a circle around that, and a circle around that, and around that, and that's the creation of you. And if you want to access a person, you need to know how to look through the peels, the layers, the onion layers, and be able to find the core of everything. Who are you? What is a Jew? Hashem says, Libertini. Yisrael are ma'aminim b'nei ma'aminim. The Jew, at the root core of who he is nothing other than Emuna. The root core of what you are is someone who absolutely and utterly feels Hashem's presence, and nothing in the world can block you. And that's why when Moshe Rabbeinu says to Hashem, V'hem lo ya'aminu, they won't believe, he says by the burning bush, Hashem says, don't try them. Go ahead. As soon as you'll say it, what are you going to discover? V'ya'amein ha'am. The people are Yisrael ma'aminim b'nei ma'aminim. People believe, have absolute emuna. Emuna is not belief. Emuna is connection to Hashem. Emuna is a Jew at his core knows and feels the presence of Hashem in his life. But what happens? Around this core of Emuna, we build, Hashem build rather, psychology builds intellect, your seichel. That's the first circle around it. Around that is another circle, an outer circle, which is your midos, your emotions, your feelings. Around that is your thought. Around that is how you speak. Around that is how you act. And around that is your animalistic tendencies. So when you see a person, most likely what you're going to be looking at is the animalistic tendencies of that person. You're going to see the outer layer of the person, and you're not going to sense who the person actually is. That's the problem. So if you see someone acting up and you want to know who they are, you're not going to see who they are. My brother is in the Upper East Side, so he's got he's been Makar Yidden over there, bringing them closer. So saying he was walking in the street, and like, I don't know, years ago, and 10 years ago, I think. And as he's walking in the street, he saw a building, and he's gazing longingly at this building because he wants the building. And he realized that building is the best place to make his whole center. And he's imagining, as he's doing so, hundreds of people coming in and out, and like, oh my gosh, so much happening over here. It's exciting to think about what's going on. And then as he's in the middle of this vision, right, some guy walks behind him. What you're looking at? What you're staring at? He looks, who are you? And he sees a beggar, a homeless, ragged beggar, and starts talking to the guy. Who are you? What are you? What's going on? And of course, the question comes up in the middle, even though he's like, I'm totally not expecting to get, yes, but are you Jewish? And the guy says, yeah. What does that mean to you? So he says, well, would you like to put on tefillin? No. He says, did you ever put on tefillin in your life? It's like, no, I don't know what that is. So, no, he's never put on tefillin. Then he goes, oh, tefillin, yeah, I've seen those black boxes, yeah. Never put it on and not going to. Sorry. Anyway, from that day, for the next 10 years, all the time, he says, I meet this beggar in the street as I'm going along with this guy, this homeless guy is in the street. And in conversations with him, what I discover is that the guy has absolutely nothing. No home, no place to go, no family, no food, nothing, Sheba, nothing. He lives on the streets and he lives hand to mouth. And he doesn't have a cell phone either. The only thing he has in the world is a laptop. That's what he owns, a laptop. So he says the rabbi once tells him, how to get in touch with you. I'll give you my email. Phone number? No, don't have. My email, when I go, and every so often I go around, I get a Wi-Fi, I check, I think that's how I live. Anyway, just recently, he sees him very distressed in the streets. Why are you upset? What's wrong? So the guy says, I don't know what to do. My laptop broke. After 10 years of my laptop, finally it broke, gave way. He says, oh my gosh, that's terrible. He says, yeah. Then he's like, it's like, you want a new laptop? Make your deal. If you agree to put on tefillin, I'll give you a laptop. He says, no way. No chance. Never putting on tefillin. If you're going to be nice to me and give me a laptop, give me a laptop. No deals. He's like, okay. Up and down now. A couple of days later, meets him over there. The guy says, Rabbi, I'm desperate. Okay, I'll agree. Says, fine. Calls up a couple of friends or whatever. Says, anyone want to donate a laptop to this guy? You get to fill in for it, and the guy gets a laptop. But then short few minutes, he gets the money to buy the laptop. Okay, good. Come put on film. I'll buy your laptop. So the guy comes. He hasn't got this building. 10 years later, he still doesn't have that big building, but he has a little place, and he has a picture where the guy comes into the kitchen, and he rolls up his sleeve, and he just puts on the film on him. And then he opens up a siddur and he says, I'm going to say the words with you. Do you know how to read Hebrew? Why not to read Hebrew? Are you kidding? He looks. He says, I don't need your help for this. He says, Shema Yisrael, Hashem, Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, Baruch, Shem, Kabod. And he starts reading, rattling off the whole Shema. He's like, what? And the guy knew the whole Shema. And he's like, where did he learn that from? He says, really, you think I don't know anything? Of course I know. And it's like, as I'm standing over there watching this guy, I realized that the first time we met was when I was staring at that building. I may not have got all the people that I thought about in the building, but all those people were this guy. And suddenly you see that's like Hashem sends an neshama and he ignites an neshama, and you realize that I might be thinking one thing, but Hashem has a whole different plan. And you light up a neshama and you ignite him, and he got his laptop, but the tefillin will put on. And a neshama gets ignited. You see, every Jew at his core is Emuna. Now, here's the thing. It's probably more difficult to see that Emuna inside of us. Because, when you meet a homeless guy and he puts on films, like, it's exciting because it's a contrast. But for us, we daven, we do mitzvahs, we're good. Okay, I keep Shabbos, I keep kosher, I got it. Every one of us, at the foundation of who we are, is that Jew who has absolute emuna, an absolute connection to God. And what happens is that we build layers, fake news around it. When you find yourself petrified, my kid's not going to be accepted into school, like what's going to be, what's going to happen, how am I going to handle this? Note the external layer, which is now not drawing its sustenance from inside. What's supposed to happen in a healthy individual is that you sense your inner emuna and you live from within that emuna. So I have an absolute conviction and trust and connection to Hashem. And so I'm going to make the call. I'm going to make the call to get my kid into the school that I need to, and that's it. And then who's going to take care of the rest? Hashem. I need to worry about a thing. And every time you find that your midas, your emotions, and then your thought, and your speech, and your action goes crazy. It's like, but maybe not, but maybe, and what's going to be, and what's going to happen, all that, that's Emuna gone wrong. So how do you strengthen that core of Emuna? So Chazal say, the rabbis tell us, Kol ha'ma'arich be'echad, ma'arichin layom avushnoi. So whoever extends the echad, his life, his days and his years are extended. What does it mean to extend the echad? So it seems to mean Shema Yisrael, Hashem Echad. But you actually don't know how to do that. You should say Echad. You can't say Echad. Nor can you say Echad. So there's very little you can do with extending the Echad. What does it mean to extend the Echad? It means that in the core of our beings is Hashem Echad. We have God built inside of us who we are. And what you want to do is expand the echad, so it shouldn't just be the inner core of who you are, it should be also extended to the outer layers, that I should actually feel it. How do you do that? It's called davening. That's how. Davening is Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, with a lot of thoughts and words before it and after it. But the whole lead up to reach the echad, like, how do we get there? So, what does it mean? Translate these words. Yisrael betach b'Hashem. Translate Yisrael betach b'Hashem. What does it mean?
Israel, trust Hashem.
Israel, trust Hashem. But, are you going to speak Hebrew? What's betach? Tell me literally.
Sure.
Come on. Besides the word trust, think of a word which bitach means. Not bitachon. I want a different word.
Sure.
What's the shorish, the root of the word bitach? Have you ever done? Have you ever made done construction on your home? Tell me where you would use in construction when you cement the house. What's that called? What's cement?
Bitachon.
What does it mean? Vetach et habayit, latuach, tiach,
To stand it.
To protect it.
cement. That's what I mean. The pasuk says in the Torah, "Betoch es habayis," to cement the home. Yisrael betach b'Hashem. Let's change the word trust because it doesn't have enough of a powerful connotation. Yisrael betach b'Hashem means Yisrael, cement yourself to Hashem. Now try to do that and see how powerful it is. It means that the way Hashem designs us is all the time we've got that outer layer of problems and worries and concerns and everything. And what it takes to overcome them is tiach, betach b'Hashem. It's called dveikus, to experience glue, to glue yourself to Hashem. You say, how do I know it's going to be? Who says? I don't know. Hashem, take over. And you feel, and like you fight. It's a war to get to experience Hashem. When you daven, what you'll see is that there's all machshavas zaras. There's all these extraneous thoughts all the time. The mind goes all, just even on the very simple level, just like to think about some, let's go to Kenya for a trip right now in the middle of davening. Like anything, but to have a different, and what you want to do in davening is be able to feel the presence, feel Hashem all the time, and allow yourself to feel Hashem is absolutely and utterly right here. The whole davening is about ma'arich be'echad, to extend the echad into your life so that it becomes easier to live from within echad. That's the goal. That's why the pasuk says, we say every fast day, we mention this pasuk, ki loi machshevoisai machshevoiseichem. What that means is that my thoughts are not your thoughts. So on the one hand, you're like, how do I make Hashem and me think like, how dare I do that? How dare I say that Hashem, I'm connected to you, I'm one with you, betach b'Hashem. I feel cemented to Hashem. Who am I? How dare I? And Hashem's thoughts are not my thoughts. The Navi says, the Prophet says, Loi machshevoisai machshevoiseichem loi darchechem deroche. Hashem says, my ways are not your ways and my thoughts are not your thoughts. So the explanation is, when are my thoughts not your thoughts? When your ways are not my ways. But if you follow my way and my path, and the path is extend the echad. You want to have a long, successful, happy life? What you want to do is extend and expand on the echad. How do you expand on the echad? It's called avodah. It's all the time working yourself to the point that you work Hashem into your being. We all live in a place called Mitzrayim. What does Mitzrayim mean? Mitzrayim is limitations. Mitzrayim are constraints. The word Meitzarim is a space where you don't see Hashem. And you want to know that everywhere you look around is all one big limitation of Hashem. How do you rise? Vaya'al Avram, it says, mi Mitzrayim. Not Avram left Mitzrayim. Avram lifted himself up from Mitzrayim. So in other words, those negative thoughts that you have are exactly what's going to be able to push you to a closer relationship with Hashem. That's called Bitach Hashem. And that's what davening is. And that's why Chazal say, if you expand the Echad, ma'arichin lo yom avushno yisov. You expand your life. You know when you have a kid who's a teenager and doing things that are very scary and you're very worried about him, like super scared and anxious, and you ever had that experience? Like, you know, and you don't know what Hashem help. And you have all those worries and concerns and anxieties. You know what you do at that point? You do what you got to do. But when the worries and anxieties enter you, you do a Yisrael Bitach Hashem. You say, this kid's going to be unbelievable and going to be awesome and going to be absolutely incredible. How do I know that? Because Hashem is present. Yeah, but who says Hashem's going to help me? And Hashem doesn't always help. And sometimes look at how many other things happen. And you're like, yep. God, that's all the Mitzrayim. That's all the limitations that are around me. And I'm going to just feel, I'm going to allow my Emuna to control my intellect, the core, to control the intellect, the emotions, the thought, speech, and action. So I'm going to do what I have to do with absolute conviction and absolute Emuna. You see where the Emuna gets lost? It gets lost when you allow the intellect to become the core. So you say, yeah, but it doesn't make sense. And then you start worrying. And that worrying is exactly the problem. And Hashem promises you, if you have absolute Bitachon, he'll be fine. That kid of yours will be unbelievable. If you have absolute conviction. And the more confidence you have, and show the kid your confidence, that, maybe you're going through a little stage. I think you're amazing. It expands. See, because every Jew, because the kid, just like you, has Emuna at his core. And all the acting up is just life gone wrong. When you start connecting to that foundation, that core, the life goes out seamlessly. Because that's who we are. We are these people who bellow out Shema Yisrael and who know the truth of Shema Yisrael. And everything else is just your intellect, your emotions, thoughts, speech, action. When you find the Nakuda, the core behind it. It's amazing to think about the pasuk. You know, the word Tzion. What does Tzion mean? We translate Tzion as Zion. But the rabbis tell us that we looked for the whole Tanakh and we found one place where Zion, Tzion, is actually not a place, but rather Hashem calls the Jewish people Tzion. He says every single Jew is my Tzion. Tzion is a little mark. Tziyun, Metzuyan, right? Little mark. So Tzion is your mark, which proves that you're godly. It's called your Pintalayid. So now every time it says in davening the word Tzion, instead of thinking about the place called Zion, which it also means that, think about my Tzion. And what you say is, Ki vachar Hashem b'Tzion yivach l'meshavlei. God chose Tzion. He wants to be there. He wants to dwell there. Who did he choose? He chose you. He says, Libertinis, achoi sikalo. You are my heart. You and your core is my heart. So I feel you at my essence. And when you get that, you're like, what? Ki vachar Hashem b'Tzion. Hashem chose me and that kid of mine. That's where he wants to live. If you start living life and thinking about that, and you let your intellect flow from within that core, you're like, okay, so what does that mean? So then I don't have to worry. I just have to Bitach Hashem. Then you expand, you reveal Hashem in this world. See, Hashem is abstract. Hashem wants to be present in this world. The way Hashem becomes present in this world is essentially through you. That's what he's doing. He's saying, I need you to feel my presence. Now, when Bnei Israel leave Mitzrayim, they don't just go into the land of Israel right away. What does it say? God pushes them through a desert. What's the desert? The desert is the continuation of experiences that are negative. The desert is the place where the scorpions and Nochash, Saraf, the Akov, snakes, scorpions, and serpents dwell. In our lives, we march through a desert. We march through a space where you don't find Hashem. and you don't see God at all. And it looks very scary. Petrifying. Like, whew, I don't see God. I don't know where he is. And what Hashem says is that desert is actually what allows you to partner with me. Because when you walk through the desert, and every time you walk through, you're pushing and you're lost and you don't know what to do. And every time you're pushing through, so I took you out of Mitzrayim, you escape Mitzrayim, but you walk into the desert. The desert is your opportunity to feel Hashem's presence. And what you want to do is just all the time feel Hashem is absolutely with me, absolutely connected. I just feel the absolute pleasure of what it means to be present with Hashem. When Yaakov Avinu, we once discussed this, when Yaakov Avinu looks at his children, he wanted to tell them when Mashiach is going to come. He wanted to tell them how this all finishes, how it's all over, and it's all going to be fine. And as he's about to tell them what happens, the Shekhinah leaves him. So he looks at his children and he says, I sense that there's some kind of lack of Emuna by you. He didn't mean you serve idols. He meant, I don't know, I feel like sometimes you think that Hashem is not present with you. And they looked at him and said, Shema Yisrael, listen, Yaakov, our father, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. And he said, that's unbelievable. Because you are the spokesman for all Jews throughout the ages. Every time throughout the ages when Jews learn this, they're like, come on, it's not true. It can't be. It just, who knows? Hashem is with me. Why? And Hashem says, write the story of Purim again, because you'll be able to see Hashem present in your life. Because the story of Echad is to expand the Echad, to reveal Hashem Echad where? Wherever you are, in that space. So every time you daven, you're expanding, you're revealing the Echad, you're living from within the sense of Emuna. And then what you're doing is drawing Hashem Echad into your life. So as we escape Mitzrayim, what happens? We're going into the desert. So what's the desert? All those negative emotions that happen in your life, that's Mitzrayim and the expansion of Mitzrayim in the desert. And it all seeks to destroy you. It's out to destroy your whole basis and essential core of being a heart with Hashem. It wants to destroy you and to kill you. And then comes really the biggest challenge of all. And that's Amalek. Amalek attacks you, but Derech would say some in Mitzrayim. He attacks you as you're getting out of Mitzrayim. It's interesting that Paroi says, I don't know Hashem. Lo yodaiti es Hashem. But what does Hashem say? Okay, we'll make some makois, we'll give him patch. We'll give him 10 slaps across the face in the forms of 10 plagues. And then, V'yadu Mitzrayim keni Hashem. They'll get to know, right? The Mitzrim, at some point, recognized, Paro's like, okay, I got it. And then Hashem hardened his heart, that's true. But the Mitzrim actually got it. On some level, like, okay, Hashem is with me. At the end of it all, there's the Reishis Goyim Amalek. Amalek is different to everybody else. He watched the 10 plagues. He watched Kriyas Yam. So he watched the splitting of the sea and everything else. And what does he do? He says, I don't care. And Amalek is Gematria Safek, doubt. Amalek means Amalek, the word Amalek is Molak. What's Molak? Melika. You know what Melika is? Anyone know what Melika is? Close. Melika is, in the Beis HaMikdash, there was what they used to do was they used to, it's basically the opposite of Shchita. What Shchita is from the front of the neck, Melika is on the back of the neck. There was one avodah of Melika. We have, right? What's your Mitzrayim in your body? There's the head. And then there's the heart. Between the head and the heart is this constrained part of the body. That's your Mitzrayim, your neck. It's when you're limited. Amalek, what he wants to do is cut off, hypothetically, the neck so that the head and the heart don't connect. So that what you learn, the ideas that you have are not able to connect to one to the other. But it's interesting. Moshe comes to Hashem and he says, Hashem, I don't know what to do. The Jews did the Egel Azav. He's like, God, these people are crazy. 40 days. Hashem said, 40 days. 40 days after I told them, what do they do? They worship idols. I'm done. So what does Moshe tell Hashem? First he says, Hashem, come on, you can't destroy them, you can't annihilate them. What are the mitzvahs going to say? Hashem, if you want to annihilate them, annihilate me. And Hashem's not placated. Then finally Moshe comes to Hashem and he says, okay, listen, God, here's the story. These people are meshuga. They're obstinate, they're crazy. He says, they just all the time rebel against. They're crazy. 40 days after, and they're already sinning. So forgive them. Hashem says, what? That's what I said. You're telling me I should forgive them because what? Because they're 40 days later? And Moshe says to Hashem, firstly, I'm owning up. I know we did wrong. We know we did. We made the golden calf. It was terrible. Yeah, got it. He said, but God, listen to me. No other people is as meshuga as these guys. Because what Amalek does, they do the exact opposite. The same people who put doubt in their mind, they're like, yeah, but maybe Hashem is not there. The same people have stuck with you and will stick with you forever. They're an amkshei orif. They're an obstinate nation. Even if everything looks the opposite, they will still trust you. Sometimes life looks like it's totally wrong, totally gone awry. And then what do you say? Okay, but Hashem is with me. Amalek says he sees Hashem's hand in everything, and he says, but maybe not. And Amalek is very powerful inside us. Moshe says to Hashem, Amalek's trying to cut the neck, trying to disconnect us from the head, from the heart. But he says, the people of Israel are amkshei oref. You can't cut their necks because they're kshei oref. The oref is the back of the neck. The back of the neck is so strong, so powerful, you just can't get through to them. These guys, no matter what happens, they say, Hashem is present, Hashem is here, Hashem is with me all the time. And that's why Hashem is absolutely with them. So I got to tell you, you said your story, I'll tell you mine. Because it's good to preach. The question is, practice, Hashem is with me, okay. And then, so anyway, we decided, this is a story in the middle, but I'm telling you in the middle, taking a big risk. So whatever, we decided to open up, I couldn't get my kid into a school that I wanted. So we decided, you know what? We decided let's open up a school. So I want to open up a Masifta school. Anyway, so we decided to open it up. Now what? Now, I don't know. So I'm like, okay, trust in Hashem. If you believe in what you say, then you trust in Hashem. So what do you do? So I sent out a text. We're looking for someone to run our Masifta, a Rosh Hashiva, Emuna. Okay, and then I got people calling me up, and they're applying for the position. I thought that was quite funny. And I'm interviewing people for something that doesn't exist, for a thought in my head. And then I hired someone after a few weeks. I thought it was great and amazing. And then I'm like, okay, now what? What do we do now? So whatever, one thing led to another. Sent out a video explaining what I want to do. The video was narrowed down to about 90 seconds after 11 minutes a few times, 90, you got to say it quickly, what you want to say. And I narrowed it down, and the video went viral. And I was like, I got it from all over. And then I suddenly saw, wow, this is tremendous need. In the middle of it, somebody that I know called me up and said, okay, because they saw the first text, actually. They said, we want to help get involved in funding this. I'm like, oh, right, you need money to run a place, So I'm get funding. So that's amazing. And then, suddenly, this person calls me up. Okay, I thought we'd make them sift right here. No, they found somewhere else, whatever. Or we found the house. I said, okay. So we started to negotiate with the seller. And I'm like, okay, but now this is a problem because if I negotiate with him now, the Masifta is for 6 months' time. So how am I going to get, pay for the rent and whatever? So how much is rent? $10,000 a month. Okay, go get $10,000 a month for something that doesn't exist for 6 months. How do you even begin? So I don't know what to do. So the guy calls me up. He says, what do you want? I said, I don't know. I want you to give it to me for $5,000 a month. He said, why should I? I said, I don't know, because I need it. What do you mean? Because we want to make it, and explain to him what we want to do in the vision of why it's so incredible and whatever. Long story short.
He did.
What?
He did.
I thought maybe he would do it and then that was going to happen or whatever. Okay. So now I got to tell you, the whole way through, here's what I'm thinking the whole time. I'm so crazy. Like, why am I risking my kid? What am I even? If I don't find a place, what's going to be? Where's he going to go? What's he going to do? And then meantime, I'm not putting him somewhere else, and no one else is going to accept him after I put out that I'm making my own one. Like, they'll say, you know, we're not taking you into ours. I mean, you're trying to compete with us and whatever. And I got so many thoughts in my mind. I tell you, and then like, what? And how do you even get kids? And who? What? Where? How? I don't even know where it is, what it is. And I was like, up to 3 days ago, I was sitting over there. I don't even know where it's. And if this guy says no to this building, and plus, then if we don't register kids now, we're not getting anywhere. So I got 4,000 different doubts in my mind. The whole time I'm pushing away, nope. You got to just trust in Hashem. And I'm throwing myself in Hashem was very difficult. Actually, I announced that one of the shiurim in shul about 2 months ago. I told the guys I'm making. I said, look, test me out because I don't know how I'm doing it, but through trust in Hashem, I'm going to make it happen. So anyway, 3 days ago, this broker calls me up from there. He says, I was telling the guy, I was talking to him about it because I realized I heard what you're doing and whatever. He says, so I told the guy, I know this broker, I know who he is, whatever, but he says, I was telling him that maybe it's a good idea. So he said to me, listen, I don't mix business with tzedakah. Either I give tzedakah or I'm doing business. So he said, okay. So then it's not going to be a business because they're not going to pay you what you want. Why don't you just do tzedakah? So, story short, 2 days ago, he calls me up, the guy, and he says, okay, I decided I'm going to give you 1 year of rent-free. I'm going to give you the building for 1 year rent-free. So for 6 months, I don't have to pay him anything. Then I'll lock the deal in, then I have it. He said, but 1 year, and then you're out. So what does my mind start thinking straight away? But then what's going to be? And I'm like, whoa, just 1 second. You see the suffix, Amalek is like, put the doubt in your mind and like, what's going to be, what's going to happen. And I tell you, you see this picture, it's the most gorgeous, like, it's like a dream campus. And I'm like thinking, whoever's going to see this is going to think it's amazing. And then my mind says to me, you still don't have any kids and they still aren't going to come with you because I'm like, you see that Amalek? He's pushing me down. And the other side said, you just saw an incredible miracle. Like, that was unbelievable. That was a Megillah story happening in front of your face. You just saw it happening. And then Amalek says, yeah, but who says maybe or no one's going to sign up to a brand new yeshiva? Who's going to want to come? I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know if it's going to work. But I know that he says, so, Bitachon Hashem. And if I can just submit myself to Hashem and just keep pushing, so then Hashem's going to make miracles. Another one and another one and another one. And I don't know how it's going to happen. But I do know that Hashem's miracles are just going to rain down. And when you pay attention and you realize that you're the heart of the world, and the heart of you is Emuna in Hashem, and if you want something, Hashem wants it too, if it's something good, and Hashem is enveloped inside you and a part of you, then what's going to happen is you're going to look back and you say, wow, I read the Megillah by night when it wasn't good, and when I read it by day when it was good, it's the same Megillah. It's a story of Hashem in the world. The story of Hashem in the world is the story of the heart of Hashem, overcoming all the Amaleks, getting out of Mitzrayim, overcoming all the doubts, all the Amalek, and just being able to find Hashem in our lives. And we're going to read the Megillah. That's happening now.
Where is this yeshiva, Hashem?